What is going on, guys? Welcome to Stock Talk with Nico Kritikos. Today, I am happy to be talking about the market crash and Trump's tariffs and why I am very confident that this is the bottom for the market. And I put everything I had pretty much today into the stock market because I am that confident that this is going to be the bottom and we are going to have a quick recovery. So, let's go through a couple things here. Right off the bat, I want to go back to 2018 when we were in a very similar situation where Trump was president. He put on tariffs, and we had a trade war with China, and the market dropped 21%. As you can see here, it peaked at about $185. This is for the QQQ, and it went all the way down to $147, which is a 21% drop. Okay. Well, guess what? If you go back to the NASDAQ now and we look at when the NASDAQ just it peaked at $540 a share. Okay. This was back in February. Well, guess what? A 21% drop from that gives us a share price of $426, which is pretty much exactly what we hit today. And we're, slightly below that now. But that is one of the main reasons why I think this is going to be the bottom. You have to think about all the money that just got lost from the market. Everybody that sold, that's trillions of dollars that's now sitting on the sidelines. And as time goes on, more and more people are going to say, "Hey, I better invest back into this market because it's cheaper now, right? You buy low, sell high. That's kind of the game we play here." So right now it's down, right? It's cheaper, it's down. You're getting a 21% discount from what people were buying at just 2 months ago. So that's one thing you got to think about, okay? Now let's go through Trump's goals here, which I've talked about this before, but Trump's main goals are to bring back U.S. more U.S. jobs, have the Fed lower interest rates to create an environment in the United States economy to foster more growth, right? That's the big thing. Then he wants to, I think one of the biggest reasons is he's using it as a negotiation tactic to gain ground on some of these other countries. And really, he kind of, changes his mind and flips stuff around all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if next week he came out and said, "Oh, well, we're actually going to lower tariffs here, or we're going to, the U.S. and China we just agreed on a new deal where, we're going to lower tariffs and now blah blah blah." Okay, so there's all these different things. If any person or anything that comes out and says, "Oh, we have good news now because the U.S. is actually going to be avoiding these tariffs," blah blah blah. Okay, that little piece of good news is going to spike a huge upward momentum of the QQQ and all the stocks going back up, right? So this is going to be very short-lived, I think. We're not going to have a recession. This is not some real problem. All the people in the news outlets and saying that, "Oh, we're going to have a recession and, this is a horrible policy and, Trump doesn't know what he's doing and this is going to be whatever." I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's going to be very short-lived. I think people buy into the fear narratives very easily and they think, "Oh my God, there's tariffs. Okay, then it's going to be the end of the world and the market's going to sell off 50%." That's not what happens, especially when you go look at the statistics of how often we have stock market corrections and crashes and how much does it fall? Okay. I'm pretty sure the statistic is every 2 years on average, we have roughly a 10% correction. That's what we're due for right now because we haven't had that in over 2 years, at least 2 years. What we did have in 2022, starting in the end of 2021, was a huge crash. That was more than a correction because the market fell quite a bit. It fell for a long time too. We're not going to have that again. Those happen every like 7 to 10 years or something. So we're not having a 35 or 45% drop. That's not going to happen. We're going to have this 20 to 25%. It's more of a correction than it is a crash, in my opinion. I think it's going to be, I think this is going to be the bottom, and we're going to jump up after here. But all we need is a little bit of good news. When we have a little bit of good news come out, everyone's going to get more excited. The hedge funds and big investors are going to start throwing money back into here, and it's going to start piling back up. There's no reason to keep trillions of dollars on the sidelines. That never lasts long because you always want to get back into the market where you're going to make real money, especially when the market is trading down this much. This is when you have a chance to get it at a super good deal. Why would you want to invest in the market when it's already up, over 100% in the last couple of years or something? That doesn't make any sense. You buy when it's low, and those are the years after those correction years. That's how you make 30 or 40% in a year. That's when the Nasdaq does that. So those are my thoughts on this. I think this is being very overblown. taken on a proportion. And I think, again, I think a lot of people eat into that fear narrative. I think the media really loves to push it because it gets lots of views and lots of clicks and lots of attention. And I think Trump is kind of doing this on purpose. I think he knew this was going to happen. This is not a new thing. Again, he did this in 2018. He's been talking about this for decades of how, the reciprocation of tariffs and trade is not fair relative from the US to foreign countries. So this is not a new idea. I think everybody was expecting this, and I think it's going to be very short-lived. So those are my thoughts on the current market. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you in the next video.